Hi. 2 months ago, I released a breakdown of an interesting horror comic based on PVZ called Through the Eyes of the Plants. Back then, I covered the first 7 parts of the comic, but that wasn't the end. Over the past 2 months, the author has released several more parts, including the final one. So today, I'm going to finish analyzing this comic and also take a look at the related comic by Hypno called Through the Eyes of the Zombies. These 2 comics are connected and share a similar storyline. Before watching this video, I recommend checking out the previous part if you haven't already. Let's not waste any more time. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, sponsorship has been added to my channel. Now, if you want to support me, you can do so. There are 3 subscription levels available. Their prices are shown on the screen. Follow the link in the description or visit the channel's main page to become a sponsor. And I'll start the video. Part 8 of the comic starts with a bright art style. We see a pea shooter looking out the window, being petted by Crazy Dave. Suddenly, the art turns dark. We now see the same pea shooter staring at Dave from the window as Dave stands in the middle of the lawn. Next, we're shown scenes at a cemetery where Zomboss is destroying plants. Then, the scene shifts to Zomboss's base, where Crazy Dave storms in, badly wounds Zomboss, and takes his robot. Afterward, we see the injured Zomboss wrapping his face in bandages. The scene cuts to Dave's garage, where we once again see the Super Sunflower being turned into a mutant. By the way, in the previous episode, I mistakenly thought it was Zomboss disguised as Dave doing this, all because of the robot, but this episode clears that up. Then we see the previously trained Sunflower and pea shooter walking through dark streets. In one alley, they find a corpse with a note saying, "This undead wears a mask." We then see Sunflower's fingers starting to fuse into leaves. Yes, her mutation is beginning to fade. Pea shooter spots a zombie, which quickly turns and walks away. A second later, a terrifying Giga zombie football player bursts out of a wall and notices the plants. The scene shifts to the zombie version of pea shooter standing on the lawn. Suddenly, a zombot leans over him. We see 2 terrifying figures, and inside the zombot sits Dave. Part 9 begins with a Hypno shroom standing on the lawn. This part features a vasebreaker level. Zombies are tearing apart the plants, and one zombie with a music box explodes, releasing a large number of other zombies. One of them bites the Hypno shroom and gets hypnotized. He starts attacking other zombies. At this moment, something strange starts happening to the Hypno shroom, possibly a side effect of the bite. The scene shifts to a sleeping Dave, with the Hypno shroom peeking through his window and hypnotizing him. That's when the story of the comic truly begins. We see flashbacks from previous comics where Dave tries to create hybrids and scenes involving the Zombot. Let's pause here for a moment. As you may have guessed, all this time Dave has been controlled by the bitten zombie Hypno shroom, who actually enjoys violence. This explains Dave's purple eyes. The Hypno shroom decided to grow plants himself and send zombies to fight them. If you remember episode 4, when the Zombot showed up on the roof, you could see 2 purple eyes in the cockpit. Now we know they were Dave's eyes under hypnosis. A big plot twist. We return to the scene with zombie pea shooter and Dave. The 2 terrifying figures turn out to be mutant pea shooters created by Hypno Dave. A Hypno shroom appears from Dave's hair and commands them to kill the pea shooter. He tries to fight back, but that only enrages the mutants. They brutally mutilate pea shooter and leave him to die. Meanwhile, Sunflower is attacked by the Giga zombie football player. At that moment, her mutation fully disappears, allowing her to use her superpower again. She sets the zombie on fire, but it doesn't kill him. Suddenly, a zombot appears behind her. The scene shifts to the zombie pea shooter, whose limbs start growing back. The episode ends there. And finally, the last episode begins with a scene of the zombot. 2 mutants look at Sunflower and pea shooter, when suddenly one of them is crushed by the Giga zombie football player. Meanwhile, the Hypno shroom tries to control Sunflower and pea shooter. Suddenly, a laser fired by Super Brains hits the Hypno shroom. He retaliates with a fireball. Then he injects himself with something and turns into a horrifying humanoid mutant and attacks the plants. At the same time, the Giga zombie football player defeats one of the mutated pea shooters. The second one mutates even further and turns into a Giga mutant. A battle begins, which the Giga zombie football player wins again. Sunflower tries to hide from the Hypno shroom, but he finds her. He forces Dave to fire a fireball to kill the football zombie. The Hypno Shroom is about to kill Sunflower, but suddenly, zombie pea shooter appears from behind and saves her. The pea shooter, captured by Dave, notices the tentacle controlling him and rips it off. Dave regains control of himself, distracting the Hypno Shroom. Sunflower gathers her last bit of strength and blasts him with fire, but it doesn't kill him. Suddenly, the Giga Zombie football player appears from behind, somehow still alive, and tears the Hypno Shroom into pieces before collapsing and dying. The injured Dave takes the plants with him. We then see a bright, peaceful garden with the Tree of Wisdom, where Dave has healed the zombie pea shooter and given him a new life. Plants grow on the lawn to keep him company, and a long-awaited time of peace finally begins. Sunflower notices the golden trophy awarded for beating the game, and with that, the comic comes to an end. Now let's move on to the comic Through the Eyes of the Zombies, which currently has 5 parts, and we'll go through each one. The first part of the comic begins with a man chained up in Zomboss thinking about how to eat Dave's brains. While having these thoughts, he starts stitching new skin onto the man, turning him into a zombie. We then see cheerful plants, when suddenly a vehicle pulls up to their lawn, and out comes a group of zombies wearing collars around their necks. One zombie greets the plants and shows that he means no harm. But in the eyes of the plant, he looks like a terrifying monster. It panics and attacks him. At that moment, the zombie also begins to see the plants as horrifying monsters, just as the plants see them. One of the zombies tries to remove his collar but is killed for it. A fight breaks out. As you've probably guessed, this is the same first episode of Through the Eyes of the Plants, only told from the zombies' perspective. Only one zombie survives and escapes. At the end of the episode, we see Dave discovering a piece of the zombie's mask and taking it with him. The second part is told from the point of view of that same zombie, who remembers the horrifying events and cries. He's sent back into battle, and now, filled with rage, begins killing plants. We see familiar scenes again, and the focus shifts to Disco Zombie. One of his backup dancers is influenced by a Hypno Shroom. After dealing with that, Disco Zombie hears the Music Box Zombies tune, and from the mist emerges a tortured and terrifying zombie, who is then shot and killed by Pea Shooter. Hypnotized Dave approaches Disco Zombie. Disco Zombie runs away. While walking through the city, injured, he writes a message in his own blood. This undead wears a mask. Then someone kills him. Part 3 begins with zombies entering the water, where they are attacked by algae, but they manage to break free. Once they get to the surface, Dave is waiting for them. He uses a jalapeno and sets them on fire. He notices one surviving zombie trying to escape. Dave catches up to him and chops him with an axe. Then he gets in a car and drives to Zomboss's base. Meanwhile, at the base, we see a chained-up zombie surrounded by failed Zomboss experiments, trophies, and more. Suddenly, someone breaks into the building. We see Zomboss reviewing a list, where it says that one zombie is dead, Disco Zombie is missing, and Super Brains has escaped. Suddenly, Crazy Dave enters, beats up Zomboss with a shovel, and takes the Zombot. At the end of the episode, we see Zomboss wrapping bandages around his face. Part 4 begins with Dave recruiting zombies into his army and heading to his own house, where the already exhausted plants are. A battle starts, and once again, we see familiar scenes. A pole-vaulting zombie dodges a fireball and prepares to finish off the cabbage pult, but suddenly, he starts to come to his senses and remembers the abuse he suffered under Zomboss. He saves the cabbage pult and hides behind a chimney, but Dave notices him and kills them both. Meanwhile, Zomboss is about to kill the chained zombie, but suddenly Super Brains appears and takes the zombie away. To find him again, Zomboss creates the clone of the Giga Zombie football player. Part 5 begins with an introduction of zombie superheroes. Then the art style turns dark and creepy as we see Zomboss testing his control bracelets. Next, we see the chained zombie being turned into Super Brains. A battlefield appears where zombie superheroes and plants clash. The zombies are clearly losing and suffering heavy losses. Rastbolt tries to save his allies by sacrificing himself. Super Brains notices his mask and starts crying. Then a massive and terrifying Spatto appears. In a rage, Super Brains fires a laser at him and begins ripping through the plants. Suddenly, a chomper bites him, but the Zombot crushes the chomper, saving Super Brains. Super Brains wraps his wounds in bandages. Looking in the mirror, he recalls all the horrifying moments he went through. In despair, he lies on a rooftop, trying to kill Sunflower, but he fails. Suddenly, 3 silhouettes approach him. From their appearance, we can tell they are Rose, Colonel Corn, and either Citron or Torchwood. A Zombot appears on the horizon, and that's where the episode ends. And that's all the currently released parts of the comic so far. Even from what we've seen, we've already uncovered a lot about this universe. Now we just have to wait for the final part to be released so we can fully understand the story behind both comics. As soon as it comes out, I'll start working on a video right away, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. On that note, I'll wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to check out my other videos. Thanks for watching, good luck to everyone, and goodbye.